What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of Eating Shit. If you're new here, the point of this show is to quickly come on here once a week and share the lessons I've learned with you guys in real time so you don't have to make the same dumbass mistakes that I have. Stupid. Or just learn from my experiences in general. If the episode provided value for you, share the show on your story or send it to someone that you think would benefit from it. And also throw up a 5-star review on the podcast app or thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching there to help us out with the organic reach. So, lessons from this week. I got this one in a few different ways, from giving and receiving it. And basically, in a nutshell, the lesson is on relationships. And if you guys have been watching the FEEKI Flips YouTube channel for a while, you know that I always talk about relationships and how important they are in many different aspects of the business, but just in life in general or any type of business that you're in. But more specifically than that, what I want to talk about is providing value to get those relationships. And I think a lot of people miss that part because I think a lot of people use it as an excuse because they see people like doing better than them or whatever, and they just think like, oh yeah, I could have done that too if only I had that relationship. But what they don't understand is like, I guess, yeah, sometimes people are born with relationships or whatever, but more often than not, people just build these relationships over time, and they get built by providing value in one way or another. And you can really hit the fast forward button on getting some of these relationships if you provide value right off the bat. So, on the podcast last week, and then on a couple of the most recent FEEKI Flips YouTube videos, I've been talking about, going to Birmingham to do virtual wholesaling in that market. And specifically, I've been talking about like really not building a buyer's list before we get deals there. And whenever I talk to people who are new to wholesaling or whatever, they're always worried about the buyer's list. And I get it because they're worried because they're like, well, if I sign a contract with a seller and I can't find a deal, like what happens next? And I always tell people like the buyer's list is the easiest part, especially for like your first few deals. Like once you do deals a lot, yeah, you need like a robust buyer's list with all different type of buyers because different buyers like different types of deals. So like, for example, right now we have like raw land in contract. We have land with utilities in contract. We have moved manufactured home in contract. We have non-moved manufactured home in contract. We have single family in contract. We have heavy rehab in contract, light rehab. So like there are different buyers for all that stuff, yes, but when you're brand new and you just need to get your first couple deals done, you really only need like one legitimate buyer that can actually buy shit and just like go do acquisitions for that guy basically. Or even if it like doesn't really fit what he wants to buy, he probably knows someone in the same market that might want it, and I'm sure that they would be happy to JV it for you. So that's why I tell people not really to stress out about building the buyer's list. So I've kind of taken my own advice when we're going to Birmingham with that. And I'm like, I'm not even going to try to like build the buyer's list until we have deals. And the reason for that is exactly what I'm talking about here. So now that we got our first couple deals contracted last week in Birmingham, then I started hitting up the buyers. And the reason for that is like buyers get cold called all the time, either usually by brand new wholesalers that you can tell immediately that they have no fucking clue what they're talking about and will probably never bring you a deal in the future, or like VAs that bigger wholesalers use that it's just like painful to talk to them while they go through the script trying to figure out what the buy box is, or what your buy box is, what type of property you like to buy. So I didn't want to be that guy, even though I know we're going to bring them deals. I just wanted to wait until we actually had something. So much different conversation when I cold call a buyer that I've never talked to, I've never met. He's 2,000 miles away. He never heard of me. And I say, hey, I have a deal, the flip that you did on 125 Main Street. I have a deal under contract at 123 Main Street. And based on the numbers on your last flip, this flip that you sold 2 months ago, this looks like it might be a deal for you. Can I send it over? And 99% of the time, they're going to say, fuck yeah, send it right over. Here's my contact info. The only reason they wouldn't say that if they're like not buying for some reason, or they have too many projects or something like that. And then in that case, they're still going to give you their contact info. But you can see how that is a much different conversation than just cold calling a buyer and be like, hey, I'm a wholesaler from fucking wherever. And like, what type of property are you interested in buying? Can can you handle 3 more properties per month and all this other bullshit. So that's exactly what we did. We got our first few deals in contract in Birmingham last week. Starting, I guess a week ago from today, Saturday, I cold called this random buyer. His name was Paul. Found him exactly how I just described it. I was using God mode on Investor Lift, and I saw that he did a flip nearby. Called him up and said, "Hey, I have a deal that was right next to your other flip. You interested in taking a look?" He's like, "Yeah, send it over." Gave me the contact info. He was super into it. And then in exchange, I sent him the deal, and I'm like, "Hey, we are from Nevada. I'm brand new to Alabama. I have no fucking clue what some of these things are worth. Can you help me out with some of the values? And I'll give you, basically first right of refusal on these deals that I have." And he was like, "Yeah, sure. Send them over." So I sent him the first 2 that we had. And he's been super helpful on like giving his opinion on the value and ARV. And, we were dead on both of them, actually, which is good to know that we're not complete idiots like we're feeling like the last couple of weeks when we're trying to contract these things. But that just goes to show you, like, I provided value to him, and now he's going to provide value to me. I'm not just like asking for something for nothing. And then even further than that, trying to call more and more buyers over there, I get in contact with a guy that's an acquisition manager for a big fund over there. They're probably, I would think, like the biggest buyer in Birmingham. They buy tons and tons of houses as long as it fits their buy box. They're a buy and hold fund. And talking to him, same thing. I gave him 2 deals right off the bat. And but he came like heavy out the gate with value. And I was like, dude, this is fucking genius. This is like on steroids what I have done for people locally here. But again, like this dude's probably done this for tons and tons of people because he knows that just like by providing this much value, he is going to hit the fast forward button on this relationship and just get way more deals from it. So, same thing. I sent him the deals, but he told me about their process, and he was like, basically, because we're a hedge fund, we have to get like our own home inspection on every single deal that we buy. He's like, so what we can do, especially since you guys are from out of the area and you need photos and get it looked at anyway, as soon as you contract something that fits our buy box, send it over. And if it seems like it's going to be, either close to a deal or a deal even at your asking price, we will go inspect it because they got to do it anyway. And then that gives us the home inspection, photos, and a rehab estimate based on, their numbers, because their home inspection includes the estimate because that's what they need for the fund or whatever. So it's a little bit even more than a regular home inspection. And he was like, if we can do the deal, cool, let's lock it up right there and it'll be a done deal. And he was like, but even if not, like if you think you can go get more for it on Investor Lift and like doing dispo on your own, like go for it. It's not going to hurt my feelings. And I'll even give you the photos and the home inspection to go do that with. And that was like, I get like, paying for it because they have to do it anyway, but then to go above and beyond that and give us the photos and the home inspection for it for free, which we're already paying for on every deal, that was like crazy to me. But again, he knows like he's gonna, if he offers that to everyone, like who are they gonna bring deals to? Like they're just gonna go to him because they kind of need him, or like they can save money by doing that. And then he's just gonna be getting layups all the time without battling with other buyers on these deals once they go to Investor Lift or however you're gonna dispo it. I'm like, dude, that's a genius way right there. So another good example of just like providing value to get that relationship right now. And that's the same thing that I have done, like running the local meetup here. Like I don't run it to like sell a course or whatever. It's just for relationships, because I know that if I just teach people how to do what we do, they're going to bring us deals. That's why I started it. And it's like, and I like teaching, obviously. That's why I do these videos too. Same shit. It's just on the internet. But that has happened that like, you put out this value for free. I just donate my time and what I've learned, and I just put it out there, and then it comes back. It's the same thing that I'm doing with this podcast right now. It's like, how can you provide value to the general public? And then it just helps you because it helps build your brand, and people appreciate it and they resonate with it, and then they give you things in return. Like that's how the shit works. So good example of that as well. And then not related to business, well, kind of, I guess. My buddy that I used to work with at the valet, his name's Trevor. He has a little brother named Josh, who I've met a few times, years ago. And I guess Josh listens to this podcast. I didn't even know. And Josh is like a wizard with fucking AutoCAD and like fabrication and building all this shit. And he just randomly sends me a video last week of, it was like, I can't remember what the text was. I think it was just a video at first. And it was like a compilation of him building this sign where he like went in and zoomed in on the cover art for this podcast, Eating Shit. And then he cut out the letters on AutoCAD. And then he basically made this sign that's like backlit with, neon lights or whatever. And then it says Eating Shit Podcast, a big metal sign. So he was like, your wall was looking a little blank. So I figured I'd make this for you. So I don't have it yet, obviously, or it'd be hanging up, but eventually maybe I'll have to turn the camera around from where I'm sitting right now, but we'll have a legit eating podcast sign thanks to Josh. And same exact thing, like he provided massive value because one, that's fucking sick and that's awesome. Like he knew I would like that shit. And then he's just going to give that to me. And then in return, he's like, yeah, I was hoping that I could like sit down with you and basically pick your brain on some business stuff and all that. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like he could have just hit me up with nothing and I would have done that for him anyway. But like he understands even at a young age, like I am going to ask for nothing. I'm just going to give first and then you ask later. So another example of what I was thinking about this week, providing value to get those relationships. So do with that what you will, gang. And a couple wins for this week. Got 4 more deals in contract, which is really awesome. So I think we were at like our last 3 weeks have been 3 deals, 4 deals, and 4 deals, which is like crazy. So I think we have 16 in contract right now. We need to start fucking monetizing some of these things, but we will. It's just a waiting game on a lot of them. And then I signed 2 of our previous contracts, and one of which will be our biggest assignment fee ever at $60K. Biggest before that was $45K, like a year and a half ago or something. I've had a few like 30, 35, 40s. But this one's 60, so that's rad. Super good. So that one should close next week. Start getting some money back in the pipeline, and our goal now is just to keep this bitch filled up and just keep contracting more and just trying to dispo as many as we can. I think we have deals. I think we have 6 in Birmingham right now, and I know at least 2 of them are deals. They should be, and then the other 2 that are like massive rehabs, we still just have no clue until I find out more from the local buyers that actually want to buy that shit. So I'm going to try to figure that out next week. Those are the ones that like you guys that are local here in Nevada. This sounds crazy, but like we have one in contract for $10,000 and one in contract for $15,000. And like that might very well be too much for these deals. Like they're just worthless, some of them for how heavy a rehab it is, and then the ARV is just not there. So like if you can hold it as a rental, cool, but like if you're local there, the deals like that are just readily available apparently. So they may or may not be deals. And then we got 2 more, and one of them was a package deal for 2 that we may or may not be able to move just because it's right next to a cemetery, which is kind of strange. But other than that, like besides the location, the metrics work good. The numbers look good. But again, just kind of a weird one that we think is a deal, but we're not totally certain just because it changes. The value changes so much in these different pockets in this market. But definitely like, what we're shooting for, since we're like wholesale only right now, once we start doing more volume, is like a 25% fallout rate, which means like we want to be closing 75% of the things that we contract. And like, obviously you want to close 100% of it, but really I think a good way to look at it is something that Eric Klein says, like if you have 100% close rate, like you're not taking enough chances, you're not contracting enough things. But if you have like a 30% close rate, 70% fallout rate, you're just like way wrong on your numbers, or you can't dispo at all. So I think basically industry standard from what I can see, and the people that do share their numbers, is about 75% close rate, 25% fallout rate. So, that's the whole point of tracking all that stuff and tracking the projected profit. As long as we have that projected profit coming in at a good amount, we can expect to close 75% of that number, and that'll be the actual profit. Like, that's all we can really shoot for. And then especially going into the new market, like, it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that our fallout rate at first is 50%, and just who knows. So luckily our first two, 1 and 2 that we had got contracted, seem to both be deals. And then from there, we'll find out more this week on those next ones. But either way, pumped to, just keep that pipeline filled up. Big difference from where we were at 3 weeks ago, big difference from where we were at 2 months ago. So stoked overall. So that about wraps it up for this episode. Thanks for listening. Share it with someone for me, and we will see you next week.